Hello, and welcome back to the 30 days of food photography breakdowns. Here we have day 14 of the 30 days. Here we have a very interesting food photo in front of me, which I took from Pinterest. It's a very interesting raspberry chocolate brownie, and let's just try to break down where is the lighting coming from, how has it been shot, and let's just pre-visualize every single thing that we can do before we shoot it, right? So the best way in order to know how to shoot food photos is to break down what's working very well in others pictures, right? So that's what I tell my students as well. If you don't know me, my name is Prathamesh and I'm a food photography coach. I have taught more than 1500 plus students in the past 1 year, and I have this picture that I want to break it down for you, and let's just try to understand the lighting first, right? Whenever I want to understand the food photography of anything, I simply look at the lighting, and inside the lighting itself, there are two things that you have to notice. First is the shadow, second is the highlights, right? So highlights are what? Highlights are simply basically the shiny spots. And what are the shadows? As the name suggests, and you know that shadows are shadows, right? So look at any food subject, any prop, anything, and just isolate it, right? So if I just closely look at this raspberry itself, I can see this raspberry is like this, and this raspberry has an outline like this. And if I notice the outline of it, it's not a proper outline, right? So if you go out on in sunlight, you get a nice outline of your body onto the road, right? Onto the road or onto the wall if you are just near it. But here, if you can see, there's not a sharp outline. So it's like, anyways, like before some few days, I was with my friend Garima, and in that video, I explained the gradient between the harsh and the soft, right? It's not black and white. It won't be completely harsh, it won't be completely soft. It would be somewhere in the between, depending on the factors of distance between the light and the subject, as well as the relative size of the light versus the relative size of the subject, right? So after noticing there is not a sharp outline of the subject, so it's a soft light, right? So it's a soft light, and let's look at the direction of this light. So if I have my subject like this and my shadow like this, naturally the light would be on the opposite edge of it, right? So if I put a point on the top of the shadow of that subject and top of the point of that subject, and I draw a line in between, I can comfortably say that this is the direction of light, right? So if I show you from a different perspective, here's what it will be looking like, right? So if I have my softbox like this, and let's say, yeah, so this is a softbox, right? So I have Bowen's mount like this, and let's say it's a Octa softbox, right? So this is my light, and I have my table like this where the food photo has been set. Okay, so let me just turn it up a little bit so your idea would get better with it. Yes, somewhere like this. Let's delete it. Go to drawing again. Yes, perfect. Change the color. Perfect. So this is having light like this, and it's giving the light source from this direction, right? So it's an artificial soft light coming from this direction. If I'm shooting from this side, it's coming from not backside, but it's somewhere three-quarter backlit, right? So this kind of lighting is called as three-quarter backlit situation. It's not side completely, it's not back completely, it's somewhere in the between, right? So it's three-quarter backlit. So this is the three-quarter backlit lighting situation with artificial soft light. Must have been a softbox or any type of light modifier. After breaking down the lighting setup, let me just quickly remove all of these things. Let's just try to understand the visual aesthetics, right? So what is the visual aesthetics? Basically the look and feel of a subject. Before going to the visual aesthetics, I would like to point out one thing. If you look at the shadow side of the subject, right? So what is the shadow side? The opposite side of light is called as the shadow side. Okay, so if you look at the shadow side, and if you closely look on to the drip of the chocolate on that brownie, there is some white portion on it, right? So that means that there is a reflector on the opposite side of my light, right? So this is how the lighting has been done. If I'm shooting from this direction, the lighting is coming from this direction, and there is a reflector just kept near to the camera, right? So if you are shooting like this, it would be on your right side, right? Somewhere over here. So that's the lighting situation. Coming back to the visual aesthetics topic of it. Now, what is visual aesthetics? Basically, the look and feel of the subject. In this picture, there's a lot of things going on. Don't you agree? Right. And why is it so? Because this food photographer has created a sense of depth. Remember, photography is just two-dimensional. What you can see in the world is three-dimensional, but you cannot do the same thing in a photograph, right? Photo is just a photo. It is just has a length and a breadth. So it's your job as a food photographer to make a 2D object seem like 3D. And how do you do that? You add what is called as the sense of depth. That means you have something in the front, in the middle, and at the back. Okay, so in technical terms, these are called foreground elements, middle ground elements, and background elements. Okay, so foreground is just things that are near to the camera. Middle ground, everybody knows what is the whole subject, and the background elements are what is behind the subject. Your subject is the hero, right? So what comes in front of the hero are the foreground element. Where the hero has been kept is the middle ground element, and where the hero basically the background of the hero are called as backdrop elements, right? So what are the foreground elements over here? Let's just try to see the subject, right? So this is the subject, so this is the middle ground element, right? So middle ground element. So what is in front, whatever is in front of the subject are in the foreground. So this is the foreground elements. And if you see what is behind all of my food subject, these are called as the background elements. So again, why are we doing all of these things? Because we need to create a sense of depth, a sense of three-dimensionality in a two-dimension thing, which is a food photo, a length and a breadth. Along with that, we are showing some space, a z-axis, if you will, right? So these are the foreground, middle ground, and background elements of a food photo. Now it also matters how you're placing everything, right? It's not just like you randomly place foreground, middle ground, and background elements. You need to add a structure to it, right? So we also need to understand the concept called as the visual hierarchy. Where is my attention going and how is it flowing? What is the visual hierarchy? What is the ranking order of those things? In the previous food photo breakdown of the day 13, I explained one topic of dark and moody along with the red color, like why red color catches your attention like anything. Same concept applies over here as well. Before there was a strawberry in yesterday's food photo breakdown. For tonight's food photo breakdown, it's the raspberry, right? So almost similar to it. And on top of it, if you can see, the green color leaves contrast and complement it very well. So let me just open a color wheel and show you what is the contrasting color scheme. So if I have a color wheel over here, this is called as a color wheel, right? So everybody has done the color psychology, the color things, right, in their schools, right? So understand where is the, let me open the pen, where is the color red, right? On this color wheel, where is the color red? Somewhere over here. What's the diagonally opposite of the color red? Which is the color green. Nature is very efficient. Nature is very efficient in its choices. So the nature is very efficient in its choices, and that's why they have chosen the color pair of red and green very well. So it's contrasting with each other, and you know in your subconscious mind, because it's programmed in our DNA to have certain sort of psychological and physiological responses after looking different colors. For example, if you see red, you get more energetic. If you see green, you feel more calm and more peaceful, like you are in the part of a forest or a grassland, right? So these are the two colors that evoke some sort of emotions to you, and that's all food photography is. Food photography and any sort of visual art is just about evoking different types of emotions inside you, right? So color combination wise, there's red, there's green, and there's brown. So brown in food photography is a neutral color, and most of our deserts are in brown color. So if you add brown, especially a darker brown and a black, gray, white, and brown, and shades of brown are neutral colors. If you pair very bright saturated colors like green and red, it would pop out in front of the neutral colors very well, right? So that's why in this photo, you are able to look at the green leaves, the green mint leaves, and the red raspberry fruits very well, right? So that's the food photo. Artificial light coming from the 3/4 backlit left side. There's a reflector on the opposite side, on the shadow side. And I also told you about the red and green color contrast. On top of that, we need to understand how do you create the sense of depth in a food photo. Here the food photographer has placed a lot of foreground, middle ground, and background elements, right? So that's just for today, day 14 of 30 days of food photography breakdowns. Let me know in the comments what what thing you found useful, and I also would love to help you out in further decoding food photography in a better manner. So if you have some suggestions, please let me know in the comments, and I'll see you tomorrow on day 15 of 30 days of food photo breakdowns. Good day.